Subscribe to our YouTube channel and press the bell icon to get the latest updates.
Do we really care about the northeastern region of our country? Now, the answer would be a unanimous, of course we do. What kind of a stupid question is this? So, it sounds like a stupid question, but let me just follow up. Can you tell me the names of the 8 states which are now defined as states in the northeastern region? Now, chances are many of you will pass it, but the trouble is that some will flunk it for sure. If you don't think so, then mentally just in your mind read out the names of the 8 states. Tough, some of you might flunk it. Then what are the names of the capitals of those 8 states? More will flunk it. Then if I start asking you some funny things, like have you heard of a place called Kifire? Obviously, answer almost entirely across the board, unless you are somebody who served in the armed forces and has been posted in that region or has some special reason to know, the answer will perhaps be no. Now, if I told you also that Kifire, actually the reason I mentioned Kifire district is that Kifire is on the Niti Ayog's latest Sustainable Development Goals rankings of the districts of the Northeast. Kifire is at the bottom. Of the 103 districts ranked, it's at the bottom. That's why Kifire is important. But if 1% of you also know where Kifire is, I would say India has changed. But chances are that you would not. Zuneboto, maybe the odd one might know. Kra Dadi. In fact, even if I ask you in which states are these districts located, you might have trouble. If I now came down to Tuensang, Mong, then some of you might recall the names and might have some connection, but that is only because you are of a certain vintage and you've been reading stories about insurgencies in that region. Now, this Sustainable Development Goals dashboard and rankings that the Niti Ayog has put out, this to my mind is much more significant than what they put out earlier on the states basis, because this is the first time I am seeing data of this kind on the Northeast. The problem in our country right now, in fact the problem with global debate right now is that too much of the debate is now conducted without data. So this is data-free opinion, right? Don't confuse me with facts. Don't confuse me with data. I know what's good, what's bad. I know what's good for you. I know what's bad for you. Frankly, if they had consulted me yesterday, they would not have been all out for 78 at Headingley, right? All of us are Gyanis. We don't like data, but that is a big gap. Now this report does exactly that. This gives us data for even someone like me who lived in the Northeast a long time back, mind you, a long time back, between 1981 and 83. That's 40 years back, 38 to 40 years back, right? Even for me, this report has a lot of new stuff and lots of takeaways. Now you might say, why are you boring us with the minutiae of what's happening in the districts of the Northeast? Because who lives in the districts? It's the people of the Northeast who live there. It's when the people of the Northeast in these districts are happy, then you have a happy growing Northeast. When they are not happy, when they are poor, they are underfed, they don't get adequate literacy, etc., then they get angry and in many cases they pick up weapons. And I will draw some of those connections as we go along. So first of all, what is the Northeast? Northeast, the region, is 8 states, Assam at the center, then Arunachal Pradesh, Nagaland, Manipur, Mizoram, Tripura, Meghalaya and Sikkim, right? And you know their capitals. If you don't, then check out, let me not read those out for you. Now these eight states together account for 2.6 lakh square kilometers of territory. In percentages, that is 8% of India. But 8% of India only houses 4% of India's population. So it is not heavily populated. Also, it follows that it does not count for that much in national politics because it does not send that many MPs in our parliament. Assam is the highest. I keep saying Assam is a Punjab-sized state and vice versa. So, it's one of our smaller states. MPs in two figures, but in low two figures. The rest have 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3 like that. So these are very small states. They don't count for that much in national politics. They, however, paint big on our mind space. Unfortunately, mostly for bad news because of insurgencies, because of trouble. When there is no insurgency, then two states start fighting. They start firing at each other with machine guns. People who wear uniform for India fight with machine guns and kill each other. We just saw that happen on Assam-Mizoram borders. So a lot of these problems come from the grassroots. And this data now tells us about the grassroots situation there. Once again, if you think of the Northeast, 70% of the Northeast is hills. You would think that it follows that states which have the hills, they must be the poorest, they must be the least developed, whereas the states which have the most plains will be the best off. Now, in some cases it's true, but in a dominant case, it isn't true. I'll come to that. Second, a lot of the states are tribal. So, of this population, the Northeast has 4% of India's population, 8% of India's territory, 4% of India's population, but 54% of this population is tribal. These are scheduled tribes. So, of the 705 scheduled tribes found all across India, 133 are found in the Northeast. So this is 54% of the Northeast is tribal. So if you look at the hill states of the Northeast, they are predominantly tribal. It's the two states which have a lot of plains territory, that is Assam and Tripura, where the majority is non-tribal, and that skews the ratio. In fact, if you take those two states out and look at the rest, then the tribal population will be in upper 80s or thereabouts, no less than that. Now think of a few other things that stand out about the Northeast. Now the Northeast has 8% of India's territory, we told you, but it has 25% of India's forest area. And while satellite data tells us that India's forest area is not declining on a net basis overall, but in the Northeast, which has some of the richest forests, it has been declining. Two of the 25 biodiversity hotspots in the entire world are found in the Northeast. That is the Himalayan biodiversity zone and also the Indo-Burma biodiversity zone. It is in this vital region that we've had 4 insurgencies at one time simultaneously going on. Those are the years when I was posted there. Mercifully, fortunately, most of them are now over. Separatism is mostly over, although occasionally we see some trouble here and there, but that trouble, when it comes up, you can see that these are cries from the heart, because people think that they haven't got their due. And what happens is, when they say even the democratic system not functioning, their leaders not functioning, they get angry. So in fact, if I had the luxury or your indulgence to bore you for an hour, I would even go into more minute analysis and tell you how these incidents of violence in many of these regions are connected to what's happening to the development status of the people there. But I will not go that much in detail. I take you for granted, but not that much. But I will tell you about, first of all, disparities even within the Northeast. And that's where I said, just to have the mountains and having the plains doesn't define anything. Now look at the state of Assam. State of Assam, which is predominantly plains, beautiful river, rain, forests, oil, minerals, all kinds of wealth, very good fertile farmland. In Assam, 36.2%, that is more than 1 in 3 people live below multi-dimensional poverty index, MPI. This is 7 times more than a fully hill state like Sikkim. Sikkim only 4.87% live below the MPI, that is multi-dimensional poverty index. Assam has 36.2%. Why Assam has got left behind? How Assam has got left behind? Don't ask me, ask the leaders of Assam over time. Infant mortality rate, and this is again a big surprise from me, because I know that there is trouble in those states, but this is too much of a variation. Infant mortality rate, Meghalaya, which has a big city, Shillong, which is the second most prominent city, I would say, in the northeast and cosmopolitan. Meghalaya has infant mortality rate of 47, which is 5 times more than Manipur. Now, why Meghalaya has it? It completely beats me. It just tells me that Meghalaya's primary health system works very poorly, and generation after generation of Meghalaya's leaders have not cared about their own people at the grassroots level. Otherwise, from Meghalaya to have these figures is a shocker for me. By the way, my first child was born in Meghalaya, in Shillong in fact, at a missionary hospital called Nazareth Hospital. Now again, if I recite the names of the 8 states to you, I'll do that, but I'm not repeating myself. I am now reciting them or listing them in the rankings in which they feature in terms of how their districts are performing. And then you will see kaun kitne pani mein hai, who counts for how much. So first of all, on the top, Sikkim. So one little applause for Sikkim. Sikkim, number 2, and that surprises me pleasantly. Number 2 is Tripura. Number 3 is Mizoram. That surprises me, but actually doesn't quite surprise me, and I will tell you the reason. The reason Mizoram has done so well and much better than its peer states, like say Nagaland. I say peer state because because Mizoram and Nagaland both had long chronic insurgencies. Nagaland started in mid-50s, Mizoram started in 1966, but both had long bloody insurgencies which were based in East Pakistan. Leaders were based in East Pakistan, they were trained in China, they had met Zhou Enlai and stuff, but Mizoram has broken out of it, and the reason Mizoram is doing so well, it is the best performing tribal state in the northeast, is a very simple one, because leaders of Mizo insurgency made peace. In 1985-86, they signed a peace accord with Rajiv Gandhi, came over ground, participated in elections, got power, lost power. In fact, even today, that same party which used to be the underground earlier, Mizo National Front, they are in power, and Zoram Thanga, Mr. Zoram Thanga or Pu Zoram Thanga, as is said in Mizo, who is now the chief minister, he was actually vice president to Lal Denga, the founder of the Mizo insurgency, and his successor. He is now the chief minister. So the Mizos made their peace. That's why you see the Mizos doing so well and actually featuring in the top districts, top performing districts, and not really featuring very much in the bottom performing districts. So you can see that there is a peace dividend available. Whereas if you go ahead, so Sikkim 1, Tripura 2, Mizoram 3, Manipur 4, Assam 5. Assam 5, again state which has the plains, the river, the forests, the fertile land, oil, everything, airports. Assam number 5. For me it's shocking. Arunachal Pradesh 6, again very far flung places, very thinly populated, etc. Arunachal Pradesh has problems. Meghalaya even below Arunachal Pradesh. Again, it's a big surprise to me, and to me, because Meghalaya never had an insurgency. To me, it is just political failure. It just tells you the political leaders of Meghalaya have been a disaster for the state, and the state needs to now invent a new leadership or a new kind of politics for it to do better, because Meghalaya doesn't deserve to be so low. Nagaland, once again, it's a state which hasn't yet got rid of insurgency, because insurgent groups are there. There is a ceasefire, government collects tax. More than them, insurgent groups collect tax. So extortion of one kind or the other goes on all the time, and the state remains very poorly governed. So once again, Sikkim at the top, Nagaland at the bottom, and you can see the reason why some states are doing better and some are not doing so well, or some are doing the worst. Again, if you look at the 103 districts there, 64 are in the category called front runner. So districts have been ranked in 4 categories. That is achiever, that's at 100, then front runner, then performer, then aspirant. Now this is a little bit like the marking in a junior school, like a nursery school. You don't want to give anybody fail marks. So you pass everybody and you encourage everybody. So on this scale, even if you get 5 out of 100, which is really bad, I mean, you don't even get pass marks of 33, even then you are an aspirant. But the fact is that out of these 103 districts ranked in the Northeast, 64 are front runner, which is good, 39 are performers, which is even better. Now, if you see the rankings, first of all, let's look at the top districts. Top districts, East Sikkim is the tops, Gomti district in Tripura, which is next to the district which has Agartala in it, that is West Tripura. Gomti then goes on towards the border. So Gomti district is number 2. These are all in the same ballpark, 75.87, 75.73. These are all in that category. North Tripura again, then West Tripura, then West Sikkim, then Unakoti, which is also in Tripura. The place is known for its beautiful rock cuts, ancient rock cuts. Lunglei, the first district from Mizoram. Lunglei, a bit south in Mizoram, borders Myanmar on one side. Then there is Dholai, again in Tripura, and Sipahijala. Now, when you see these districts in the top 10, who dominates these top 10? It is Sikkim, tiny Sikkim, and interestingly, it is Tripura. But Assam does not feature anywhere in the top 10 in these districts. Isn't that counterintuitive? But that's factual. That's why we need data, because in data-free analysis, we can make mistakes like thinking that Assam must be the most advanced. It is not. It is the most dominant, it is the most populous, and in some ways, Assam thinks that it is the heart of the Northeast. But if this is the heart of the Northeast, then it has to do a little more about its health, because the health is not right. In fact, from the top, the first Assam district to feature in the rankings is at 18, and this is the district of Kamrup Metro. Kamrup Metro is nothing but the city of Guwahati, the biggest city in the Northeast. It's a mini metro. That comes at number 18. That tells you that really Assam has got left behind. And then you see all the big cities of Assam, prominent places in Assam at 22, at 23. So Jorhat at 22, then Gwalpada, Karimganj, Nalbari at 23. And once again, the regional spread is even, because Jorhat is in one part of Assam, in Upper Assam. Gwalpada is right at the other end of Assam. That is where it borders Bangladesh. Karimganj is in Kachar. That's a completely different demographic and geographical region of Assam. And Nalbari actually is not far from Guwahati. So you can see that this underdevelopment in Assam is quite widespread, and that is a big lesson. Then look at the districts that are doing poorly. So I told you one story I gave away to you, that the district that's performing the worst is a district called Kifire. Now Kifire is a district in Nagaland, and you will see these on the screen as I talk, and you will see many of these tables run on the screen. And if these tables look enormously better than sometimes the graphics we use, I have to thank Niti Ayog and the team that put it together, because we've taken them, we've lifted this straight from their report, and I'm sharing the full report with you as a link. Please see that if you are interested in this important part of your country. Now Kifire is one of the more distant districts of Nagaland, bordering Myanmar. Now this district has a smattering of a bunch of tribes. One of them is Sema. Sema is now more often called Sumi. So there are Semas, there are Yimchungars, there are Sangthams. So Kifire is at 103 with 53 points, and just below this at 102 its adjoining district, which is Zuneboto in Nagaland at 54.33. Not nice. Zuneboto, again I am surprised, it is the district of the Semas in Nagaland. Semas are among the most prominent, most progressive Nagas. Semas, Aos, Angamis, these are the ones, these are big tribes. You find them now all over India. You keep running into them on your airlines, in your service industry all the time. So Zuneboto unfortunately joined last on on this list. So, the two adjoining districts of Nagaland are here. Then a district whose name I didn't even mention to you because really I didn't expect you to know, that's Kra Dadi, Daadi. Kra Dadi is a district in Arunachal Pradesh, which again, to my surprise, is closer to Assam. It's almost along the foothills with Assam. And I am surprised, not pleasantly, I am unpleasantly surprised that this is doing so badly. Then number 4, again from the bottom, Tuensang. So these are districts around Kifere. That tells you that a lot of Nagaland has got really left far behind. And these are districts which even today contribute the largest number to the ranks of the insurgent groups. So it tells you when you don't have development, people get angry, people don't have an opportunity. When they don't have an opportunity, somebody says, okay, I'll give you a rifle. Once you have a rifle and you have my uniform, get yourself in fancy dress, people will salute you, they will pay you tax and tribute, and your life is made, you don't have to work. And that is how insurgency is sustained now. So the district after Kra Dadi, the worst, Kifere, Nagaland. Number 2, Zuneboto, next to Kifere, Nagaland. Number 3, Kra Dadi in Arunachal, in the foothills. Number 4, Tuensang, again next to Kifere in Nagaland, which again has a mix of tribes, that is Chang, Sangtam, Yimchungar, Kemungan. And then next to that is again a district which is located next to that on the map as well, which is Mon district, which has Konyaks and Aos. But these other districts still have groups and still have tribal groups which are now part of the insurgency, and that is why they remain poorly governed. And it's a vicious cycle because they're poorly governed, more people join insurgency. As more people join insurgency, then anarchy spreads because there is no insurgency as in ambushes and fights anymore. It is just extortion and illegal tax collection. Again, I will not go over the entire list, but I will tell you some highlights. If you see the bottom 10 list of these districts, in the bottom 10, almost all the districts, 8 of the 10 districts come from Nagaland and Arunachal Pradesh. 8 out of the 10 worst. Only 2 come from Meghalaya, and that, believe it or not, is North and South Garo Hills. Now Garo Hills is from where Meghalaya's most powerful politicians come. In fact, even today, Meghalaya is under the rule of the Sangmas, who are the ruling family in a way of Garo Hills. Before them, there was their father Purno Sangma, and before that, there was the famous and redoubtable Captain Williamson Sangma, who was a Second World War veteran. In spite of that, 2 Garo Hills districts feature in the bottom 10 of this list. If you look at the bottom 25, that's even more of an eye-opener. In the bottom 25 districts, 10 come out of a tiny state called Nagaland, 10. And this tells you how far behind Nagaland has got left, essentially because it's not been able to apply closure to that peace process which has been hanging fire for a very long time. So 10 out of 25 come from Nagaland. But unpleasant surprise for me, 7 out of 25, that is the next worst, come from Meghalaya. Now Meghalaya is a state always peaceful, easily accessible, no tall mountains, one big city, that is Shillong, and yet the state has done so poorly. So 7 districts in the bottom 25 come from Meghalaya. 10 from Nagaland, 7 from Meghalaya, 7 from Arunachal. That's understandable because Arunachal opened up very late, it is very far flung, it is very, very thinly populated, it's also very poorly connected. It's a big challenge to govern Arunachal Pradesh. It should have done better, but I can understand 7 of 25 being from Arunachal. And Arunachal has many districts. It has 22 districts, in fact, in the entire state. But 7 from Meghalaya is a big, unpleasant surprise. So one district from Assam also features in the bottom 25, which is surprising, and it is a tribal district. It's almost a tribal district, sort of close to North Kachar Hills, Haflong, etc., etc. Now, what are we recommending? We are recommending that anybody who has a stake in the Northeast, particularly leaders of the Northeast, leaders means political leaders, civil servants, NGOs, activists, everybody, even also I say with humility, even insurgent leaders, see what have you done to the Northeast, see what's working, what's not working, and focus. Because The purpose these lists and dashboards serve is to create a competitive spirit, to say that I have, if if my state of Meghalaya has 7 districts in the bottom 25, in the next rankings, I don't want more than 2 there. Ideally, I don't want any there. And a state like Meghalaya can do it. Nagaland, if I have 10 out of 25, I'm being unfair to myself. I will fix it. So if that competitive spirit rises, it will be very good for all of the Northeast and frankly for all of India as well.